As a commerce and logistical hub, Singapore is ideally placed in the heart of Southeast Asia. If oil is supplied to East Asian nations such as Japan and South Korea, for example, container ships from the Middle East must travel the shortest route across the Malacca Strait. Singapore, a significant financial center in the Asia-Pacific region, has long been regarded as one of the world's most sophisticated economies. Its ascension to the top was credited to the country's excellent technical infrastructure, availability of talented personnel, advantageous immigration policies, and ease with which new enterprises may be established. This has not been the case since there was a time when the country had no natural resources with which to establish its economy. It could perhaps be fascinating to learn how Singapore became so wealthy and what keeps the country in that position. In 2017, the Heritage Foundation's Index of Economic Freedom classified Singapore as the world's second most open economy, while the World Bank's Doing Business report ranked Singapore as the world's second most pro-business government. Despite having a tiny domestic market and a scarcity of natural resources, Singapore effectively weathered the 1997 and 2008 financial crisis. With no foreign debt, substantial government income, and a regular positive surplus, Singapore's economy is now one of the most stable in the world. Exports of electronics manufacture and machinery, financial services, tourism, and the world's busiest cargo seaport underpin Singapore's economy. How does Singapore, on the other hand, preserve its stability? The manufacturing sector is by far Singapore's most important industry, accounting to 20% to 25% of the country's yearly GDP. Electronics, biomedical sciences, logistics, and transport engineering are key industry clusters in Singapore's manufacturing. The manufacturing sector increased by 35% in the third quarter of 2017, with clusters like electronics and precision engineering benefiting from strong demand. Singapore's financial services industry is second only to its manufacturing sector in terms of development, thanks to the country's pro-business environment and political stability. Singapore's financial services marketplace, which is home to over 200 banks and is preferred regional center for many global financial services organizations, promotes the movement of information, processes, technology, and skills across global, regional, and domestic markets. Singapore's infrastructure has always been well developed as a commercial and defense seaport throughout the British colonial era. The post-colonial government of Singapore moved on to strengthen and extend the country's transportation, communications, industrial, and housing infrastructure after the country acquired independence in 1965. On the ground, Singapore has 9,310 kilometers of paved roads, 199.6 kilometers of rail, and island-wide bus, taxi, and ride-share services. The transportation system is efficient, safe, and reliable. Changi International Airport serves 380 locations in 90 countries through air. It manages about 7,000 weekly flights that convey passengers and freight all over the world. Shippers may choose from over 200 shipping lines and reach 600 ports in 123 countries via Singapore Port. At any given moment, the Singapore Port may have up to 1,000 ships moored, making it the world's busiest container port. The telecommunication systems is also impressive. Singapore has one of the highest mobile penetration rates in the world, with 1.5 phones per person, and more than 90% of Singaporean households have access to the internet. With internet speeds like these, you won't have to worry about the boss's late paperwork, right? GDP-wise, Singapore's GDP was $107 billion in the third quarter of 2017. According to a Bloomberg study, the Singapore economy grew at a rate of 5.2% during this time, the fastest in more than 3 years. The revival of global commerce and a stronger labor market have enabled Singapore to expand its manufacturing sector while simultaneously diversifying into other sectors such as services and retail. Singapore's gross domestic product was $107 billion in the third quarter of 2017, according to a Bloomberg study. Singapore has been able to extend its economy beyond manufacturing thanks to the resurgence of global commerce and an improved labor market. In 2017, Singapore traded $967.1 billion worth of goods, up to 11.1% from the previous year. Singapore is the 14th largest exporter and the 17th largest importer in the world. Investment in machinery equipment, chemicals and chemical products, and unspecified manufactured objects are Singapore's top 3 input and output commodity categories. Singapore exported $515 billion worth of products in 2017, with the United States, Australia, Japan, China, and the United Kingdom as its top export partners. Former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew made it a priority to reform Singapore's administration. When it won independence from Britain, Singapore was one of the most corrupt nations in the world. Now, it ranks in the top 10 countries in terms of anti-corruption. The country's financial and economic policies are all oriented on preventing corruption and political upheaval. As a result, money were correctly allocated to assist its residents in escaping poverty and transforming the country into one of the most prosperous countries on the planet, with a per capita income that exceeds that of European and Asian countries. Singapore is one of the world's wealthiest countries, and former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew's insight and intelligence are credited with the country's prosperity. His strong financial and economic policies ensure that the administration is free of corruption. He also restricted the operations of foreign banks, preferring to promote technical growth. Aside from that, the Economic and Housing Development Boards gave communities the opportunity to rise out of poverty and improve their living situations. All of these elements combine to make Singapore one of the world's wealthiest countries.